to be fixed. And I don't give a damn if I get fined because that shit cheap. And I am tired of this shit. Because I've been nice and I've been humble with it, but I am tired of this shit.
Back a little bit. You can't want to be the villain. You can't pride yourself in being the villain, and then you lose, and all of a sudden you succumb to those emotions.
What happens when raw talent collides with an explosive temper, only to be torn apart by the loudest voice in sports media? You get Angel Reese's most disastrous week yet, capped off by Stephen A. Smith delivering the harshest reality.
It's not about black and white. It's about that white player and that black player. Why? Because of the history that they had before they came to the WNBA.
Reality check the WNBA has ever seen. The drama begins with the Chicago Sky, a team whose season has been nothing short of catastrophic. At 5-13, they sit near the bottom of the league, collapsing game after game despite Reese putting up what her supporters love to call monster numbers. The truth is, her stats don't matter when the team is crumbling around her. 7 losses in the last 10 games have turned what should have been a challenging season into an outright implosion. Instead of responding with leadership, Reese has spiraled. The frustration has been building for weeks, and rather than uniting her teammates, she's been isolating herself, walking around like a ticking time bomb. Everyone could see the explosion coming, and when it finally happened, it was broadcast to the entire sports world to see it all went down in Washington. The Chicago Sky were tied with the Mystics at 77 in the final minute. A perfect chance for someone to step up and show they could lead under pressure. This was the moment where stars proved their worth. Washington Shakira Austin went to free throw line, missed both shots, but grabbed her own rebound and scored. That put the Mystics ahead 79-77, and suddenly all eyes were on Reese. She answered briefly. Fouled on the other end. Reese knocked down both free throws to tie it back up, giving a glimmer of hope that she might rise to the occasion. But seconds later, her composure completely unraveled. With 30 seconds left, Chicago challenged a foul, and players moved toward the bench. And Crosby, the Sky's vice president of basketball operations and a highly respected figure in the organization, walked over with a clipboard to discuss strategy. This should have been a moment for professionalism. Any mature player would have taken the clipboard, listened carefully, and prepared to help their team fight for a win. Instead, Reese snapped. In a stunning display of immaturity, she slapped the clipboard violently out of Crosby's hands. The act wasn't just unprofessional. It was a kind of meltdown that undermines teammates, embarrasses the franchise, and broadcasts to the entire league that composure is nowhere to be found. And rather than apologizing and showing accountability, Reese poured fuel on the fire. Hours later, she jumped on Twitter with a tone-deaf response that made things worse. Those were pissing me off loudly crying face shout out to him because she knew it was the heat of the moment, and she didn't let me apologize because she knew. Not happening again though, person face palm and medium skin on. Female sign loudly crying face. This single tweet revealed everything wrong with Reese's mindset. First, there was no genuine remorse, just a shrugging off of responsibility. Second, she framed the outburst as if it were somehow acceptable because it was heat of the moment. Third, instead of respecting Crosby or her teammates, she turned the entire thing into a casual joke online. For Stephen A. Smith, this was a last straw. Known for delivering unapologetic takes, he unleashed what many are calling the most brutal reality check in WNBA history. He didn't hold back on Reese's immaturity, her lack of leadership, and her inability to separate personal frustration from professional responsibility. The result? A week that has gone down as the most catastrophic stretch of Reese's young career. A meltdown, a backlash, and a savage takedown from sports media's loudest voice. First, she was still cursing about the situation. Second, she made it sound like Crosby, the victim in all of this, had somehow done her a favor by not accepting an apology. And third, she treated the entire incident as if it were some kind of inside joke, complete with crying emojis and casual tone. Let's be clear, this wasn't an apology. It wasn't accountability. It was a professional athlete, trending for all the wrong reasons, who decided to make the situation worse instead of better. What should have been a private moment of reflection and growth became a public spectacle of immaturity for the world to see. And here's what makes it all the more damaging. This wasn't an isolated incident. Far from it. The clipboard tantrum wasn't a one-off mistake or a heat-of-the-moment slip-up. It was the latest in a pattern of meltdowns that had defined Angel Reese's short professional career. Less than 48 hours before that infamous blow-up, Reese was already making headlines for the wrong reasons. After a loss, instead of keeping the focus on the game, she used her post-game press conference as a stage for venting. What should have been about strategy, execution, and responsibility turned into a personal therapy session. Reese lashed out, firing off complaints about WNBA referees, dropping F-bombs, and even hinting at threats. The whole rant was unnecessary, unprofessional, and a clear warning sign of a player losing control of her emotions. But before we get the absolute destruction that came next, let's pause. If you're invested in this story, one of the most controversial sagas in WNBA history, you'll want to keep watching closely because what came next wasn't just commentary. It was a verbal nuke. Now back to the carnage. If you thought Angel Reese was loud, Stephen A. Smith was about to make her seem quiet by comparison. He didn't just respond to Reese's antics. He completely obliterated her position, dismantling every excuse, every tantrum, and every flimsy argument. His message was simple, but devastating. Stay in your lane. And the way he delivered it? Absolutely nuclear. Stephen A. didn't stop at Reese. He used her as a symbol of something bigger, a culture of jealousy and unprofessionalism in the league. He said Reese had been treating every sideline like an audition for America's next jealous teammate. He was done watching her turn moments of pressure into moments of chaos. Then he went for jugular. While Reese was breaking clipboards and lighting fires on Twitter, another player was quietly rewriting the entire future of women's basketball, Caitlin Clark. And Stephen A. came prepared with receipts. He laid out the numbers like they were weapons. Caitlin Clark isn't just a player, he said. She's a walking marketing campaign, a highlight reel, a franchise in sneakers. And he wasn't exaggerating. Clark's presence had already transformed the WNBA. When she played, the league averaged over 1.1 million viewers per game. When she didn't, the number cratered under 400,000. That wasn't a dip. It was a collapse. A threefold drop that showed just how much the entire league depended on one rookie star power. But the numbers weren't the only point. What truly fired up Stephen A. was the way Clark was being treated. Instead of being protected as a golden ticket to the league's growth, she was being targeted. Every night she was slammed, elbowed, cheap shot, and hacked. Referees often swallowed their whistles, as if punishing her was part of the entertainment. And while this was happening, players like Reese weren't standing up for the game. They weren't working to elevate the league. They were trying to send messages, trying to knock Clark down, as if proving a point mattered more than winning basketball games. The results were predictable. When Clark got hurt and missed time, the league felt it immediately. Ticket prices dropped, TV ratings sagged, merchandise sales slowed. The bridge Clark had built between millions of college basketball fans and the WNBA suddenly closed for repairs. Stephen A. saw it coming, and when it happened, he shouted, "I told you so," loud enough for everyone in the country to hear. He had warned that instead of protecting the future of the league,